Welcome back to the MIDLIFE MUSCLE Podcast. This is the first official episode where we're doing an interview. And if you're on audio, you're going to want to see the video version of this podcast. And all you have to do is take the shortcut. Just go to MIDLIFEMUSCLEPodcast.com. That will take you directly to the YouTube channel, in which YouTube is now hosting fully fledged podcasts. So MIDLIFEMUSCLEPodcast.com. If you're already on the video, you're seeing us wave at you. You see my guest here. This is Ashley Smith. And before I hand the mic over to Ashley to give you a 2 to 5 sentence quick intro, just want to make sure you know that you can also sign up for the MIDLIFE Muscle News newsletter at MIDLIFEMUSCLENews.com. Be sure to show your appreciation for this, whether it's in the comments on the newsletter, on the video, sharing the podcast with your friends, your family, your coworkers, because our intention here is to basically highlight everyday superstars, everyday celebrities who are making the commitment, prioritizing their health, wellness, longevity, their fitness, going after their goals, and living out the discipline that it takes to achieve all of that. That's really part of how this podcast came to be. So with that in mind, I'm going to hand it over to Ashley for a short interview. Who is Ashley Smith?
Thanks
short
for
interview.
having me.
My pleasure.
I am 34 years old, born and raised here in Jacksonville, Florida. Mom, wife, business owner, and a fitness lover now.
Yes. All right. And we're going to get into how you became the fitness lover. So is it one child?
One 7-year-old.
One 7-year-old.
Yes.
All right. So Ashley is a busy woman on all fronts. And so we're going to tell the story of how this all came to be, because it's very fitting that this is the first interview episode. Ashley was one of the main encouragers of actually following through and doing this. So do you remember the first day we actually started talking?
I do. And we met at the Jim Jacks, and you started to tell me that this was a thing brewing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when our actual first conversation was when I told you about the idea. Like, we had crossed paths, just like you do with a lot of people in the gym, but some people you can sense are more open to connecting, saying hello. There's a certain vibe, right? You were one of those people. We'd seen each other a bunch of times, but then you were talking to Brett. I was going to be using a machine right next to you guys. So I was like, it's good for me to introduce myself to you, right? So we started talking, and I felt your positive energy right away. Like, it was obvious, this is a positively charged person. You're welcome. So I felt comfortable running the idea by you. Also, like myself, knowing you're the kind of person I'm going to want to interview, would you even be open to it? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, we got to see if that's okay. Right? You might be like, oh no, I'm very private, or I'd be too nervous, or whatever. Mm-hmm. You were all for it. You're like, yeah, that's a great idea. And I said, all right, would you like to be a guest? Yes, of course. Right? So she's partially responsible for putting the positive charge into taking steps to make all this happen. So I thank you for that. And I'm grateful for you making the time today to show up. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So here's what we're going to do. So I want you to stay tuned in to the end, because at the end, Ashley's going to nominate one of the next guests. That's going to be fun. Mm-hmm. She's got at least one power question for me. She's going to turn the tables and ask me the question, right?
Yes.
And then we're going to share at least one of your social media channels if anybody wants to connect with you, follow you. And that's partially going to be one of the reasons why I touch on the competitions that you occasionally do, still do maybe?
I do.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool. We'll get to that. So before we started the cam up, you were starting to tell me about your childhood. Mm-hmm. So let's go back to that.
Okay.
I want you to share with me your childhood story, and then what brought you into the fitness realm. Like, what were the initial steps that was your entry?
Okay. So as a kid, I didn't play a lot of group sports. Felt like kind of a chunky kid. And I think as you get older, you feel a little more self-conscious about that. The summer before high school, I started just walking and jogging my neighborhood, and I lost 20 pounds before I went to high school that year.
So
And
summer before high school,
mhm,
started jogging and walking
just simple walking and jogging.
and dropped 20 pounds.
20 pounds. So got in through high school, still did it. I played some sports. I played golf and I loved to surf, but
Okay.
I loved health and the aspect. I always wanted to be a nurse, so I became a nurse. Went through college, and my husband actually introduced me to the whole gym
Okay.
scene. We got a gym membership together, and he was a lot better at it than I was.
What age was that?
19, maybe 20 years
So
old.
you and Styles are from like high school sweethearts?
Yes.
So her
Yes.
husband Styles, awesome guy. I'm so glad I met him.
Yes.
All right, so you guys go way back.
Way back.
He introduced you to like the gym realm.
Yes, he
training.
already had a gym membership.
Okay.
So I came in, and I always kind of just felt more comfortable on the cardio machines, would
Okay.
lift weights, but couldn't really find a routine, or
Yeah.
I just didn't know what to do.
Right.
I bounced around gym to gym, probably 10 locations over 10 years.
Okay.
And
Here in Jax.
all here in Jax. And then when COVID happened, I really wanted to stay on track. I wanted to take a next step in my fitness journey, but it was also a challenge because most gyms were closing at the time.
Right.
So I joined Dynamic Fitness. I had watched my good friend David Campy, the owner of Dynamic Fitness, start this company. I've watched a lot of our friends and other locals from here in Jax go through them. And I thought, you know what, I'll do their online from home programs. And I loved it. And I felt like for the first time, I really found something that was working for me and seeing results. And so I think I did every program he had that you could do online. And then I finally bit the bullet and was like, all right, I'm going to sign up for some specific training for myself.
And that was out of Jax, the Gym Jax?
The Gym Jax,
Right.
yep. And then it was kind of by chance. He asked me if I would do a bodybuilding competition show that he was putting together. It was kind of during COVID times.
Yeah.
And I had no big interest in competing when I started working out. I really was just for the health and fitness aspect. But I thought, you know what? Really, the only thing holding me back was the fear.
Yeah.
So I thought, all right, I'm going to do it. I'll just do it. And so I did, and I actually really loved it. And it was fun, and I decided to keep going with it. And now here I am 3 years later. I've been on stage 4 times now. We went to nationals last year in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So that was a good experience.
Awesome.
I do want to get back on stage again. I don't have anything picked out right now, but I'll be excited to do it again when the time's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any what category do you usually compete
Bikini.
in?
Bikini, and I'm 5'0", so as short as they come.
I get it.
It doesn't matter what size you are, if that's what your goal is.
True.
Just keep working for it.
Awesome. Okay. So during COVID or after COVID, was that when you actually started training in the Gym Jax?
It is. After the gyms kind of opened back up, I came into the gym and continued doing those programs.
Okay.
So.
And okay, so let's go from there. So what does like your typical weekly training routine look like now?
Right now I'm on a 7-day-a-week plan still.
Right.
1 day a week is just cardio, but every day is hamstring, shoulder, back, arms, and triceps. So everything is broken up by body group.
All right. So what day is what? Or like day, it doesn't have to be the day of the week, but day 1 is this.
Usually day 1 is quads, and then I have back, shoulders, hamstrings.
On other days?
Yes, every day is a different body group.
Okay, so you're doing a muscle group.
Cardio day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're basically doing one main muscle group per day.
Yes.
And you're training 7 days a week.
7
if you include
days
the
a
cardio
week.
day.
Yeah, we sprinkle a little legs in there every day. Too,
Yeah,
so.
I noticed.
Yeah,
I see that.
I got to keep those legs growing.
Okay. And on the days, on the 6 days that are not a technical cardio only day, I either see you do a little warm up or some cardio as well.
I do a warm up on the Stairmaster, just 10 minutes.
And then no cardio after that.
None after.
Just training.
Just training right now. But during like preparation season, if I'm getting ready for a show, obviously my cardio goes up.
Yeah.
And my training changes.
Yeah.
And
So
when
we're
I
gonna
first
talk
started,
about that.
you know, I'm not always on a 7-day-a-week plan.
Yeah,
For a long
understood.
time, 6 days a week is plenty.
Right.
But
Okay, this is good stuff.
yeah.
So, how much time would you say you average in the gym?
Right now, maybe an hour and 20 minutes
Total.
a day. Yeah.
Right. And I noticed you also do like some of the preliminary warm up. I'll see you on the foam roller sometimes. I'll see
Stretching.
You.
I
Yeah.
always stretch every day before I get started.
That's awesome. Not a lot of people do that
You
yet.
got to.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel it as I get older, and then it's definitely more important. And I feel like I get a better workout when I do it.
True. So that total time includes that as well, start to finish, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe a few extra minutes.
All right, understood. This is why I'm so like conscious of like stopping to talk, because like I know people are pressed for time and I don't want to take anybody out of the groove, but
yeah.
So
everybody's different. Some people love to socialize in the gym, and that's okay, and other people are there to get in and out or on their break.
Right.
I'm usually working out by myself too, because as mom and I work from home, so I have time to get in the gym and do my workout.
Right.
To socialize a little bit.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's get in, get it done, and
understood,
and go.
Right. Get back to life.
Yeah.
This is great. So, how would you describe your current, which is non-competition mode, approach to nutrition?
So my coach still writes me a nutrition plan. So I stick to that pretty hard. But
what's a typical day? And like, so describe.
Right now, my plan is it's enjoyable to follow because I have a big variety of foods. So there's a lot of flavors. It doesn't get boring. So for breakfast, I get blueberries, yogurt, oats, and a protein shake, and then chicken, rice, and a cucumber. And then I have a choice of meat for the next 2 meals with some rice, choice of vegetable. I get yogurt again later in the day. I get raspberries and orange, and then chicken and rice again is the last meal of the day. So 5 meals a day plus a protein shake after my workout.
Okay.
So that was a big part of my fitness journey too, though, because I
Learning
wasn't
the
eating
nutrition.
enough at all when I first started. I was just to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner was just an achievement when I got started. Was easier not to eat than to sit down and make the time to prep the food and eat it. So, but now I'm hungry if I don't get all those meals in.
Understood. You got the big physical output.
Yeah.
You know, you're training consistently, and you're on the go. You're busy helping run the business. Busy mom. So, is it mostly poultry for your protein, or like do you have any fish in the mix?
A lot of chicken, but I like to throw in fish, ground beef. I'll cook a steak because those 2 meals that I get during the day that are choice of meat. So I like to spice it up with something besides chicken or fish.
Right. Understood. So speaking of spice it up, do you use various herbs, spices?
I do sometimes. I'm a very bland kind of girl.
Okay.
I don't do sauces. I'm a salt and pepper girl.
Yeah. All right.
But I do try to change up the flavors or how I cook it, whether I'm baking it, grilling it, or sauteing it. Just to kind of change things up, keep it interesting. And I do get 2 cheat meals a week right now. So,
and what are the cheat meals typically? Do you have any go-tos, your favorites?
Sushi's always a good one that's still not too bad. I do like Mexican food every now and then if we want to go out and really have a cheat meal. A burger's good.
Yep. Pizza?
Every now and then, not too big on the pizza.
Okay. Dessert stuff, sweets.
I do love some sweets, and with a 7-year-old, that's the challenge too, because I still want her to have things that are fun in the house, healthy, but
within reason.
Within reason, yeah. You know, birthdays are hard. Things get challenging, especially during prep season when you can't have that piece of cake or the little things. So I try to, sometimes my cheat meal is just to go have ice cream with her because we can. So
awesome. So do you have any favorite ice cream places? There's some really good gourmet places.
Rita's is my go-to.
Okay.
Yeah, my coach knows that too. I tell him when he asks me, I'm like, can I go have Rita's? Yeah.
All right. Nice. Do you lean mostly organic, or
I try to. Publix is my go-to shopping place.
Right. They got a lot of organics
They
there.
do.
Yeah.
I try to shop what's on sale too.
Right.
For
Sure. When you're eating that much,
when you're eating a lot, it's a lot of groceries.
Yeah. So does Styles, is he like in the groove with the nutrition part with you, or is he kind of like on his own?
He's with me.
Okay.
It was a learning curve for both of us to get on the right path of eating. And I think he really enjoys now that we eat healthy meals. We eat at home pretty much every single night.
Right.
We make him breakfast every morning before he goes off to work. And
Awesome.
I think he likes the routine now.
Yeah.
So I know when we both, like, we go away for the holidays and we go back and we both come home and we're like, we're ready to get back on track.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So with all these meals and cooking at home most of the time, how do you do it? Like, how do you do all this meal prep and on a consistent basis?
Planning and preparation are key to staying on track. Just trying to be a little bit organized and thinking about how to best use your time. Having your food ready is big because when you get hungry and you're ready to eat, and you don't have something to eat, it's really easy to get off track and just say, well, I'm just going to eat this. I don't have time. So when you have that few extra minutes, pop some chicken in the oven or saute some beef on the stove. It may not sound like the most appetizing at the moment, but you'll be really glad that it's ready when you're hungry the next day, and you can just heat up your sides and your lunch is ready.
Right. So we call those prep overs,
yes.
Not leftovers, prep overs.
That's right. I mean, I do have the luxury from working from home that I have the flexibility that I'm always in the kitchen cooking something or trying to make sure I have food for the next day, or even when I'm just cooking dinner at night, just go ahead and throw a little extra in the pan to portion out for your lunch tomorrow to at least get you started into the next day. Yeah. I know a lot of people don't work from home. So if you're like, for Styles, he is on the road all day and driving from job site to job site. And so sometimes we pack him a lunch. Other times I make sure he gets his healthy breakfast. He tries to make the best choices that he can during the day for lunch. And then he'll come home and have a healthy meal. Or sometimes he'll come home for lunch and I'll make us both whatever, my chicken rice and some vegetables. And then we always have dinner at home together every night. So
awesome.
So we try to stay on track.
Excellent. So I operate kind of more like you do. Like whenever the opportunity is there, I'm going to make a bunch of things. And sometimes I'll have 2 pounds of, like roasted cauliflower sitting in the refrigerator, and I'll just take what I need. Some other people do like this Sunday meal prep. They'll spend like 4 or 5 hours cranking it out. And if that's what you have to do because your week is so busy, you're not at home a lot of the time to do this continuous, I'm going to make some of this, I'll make some of that, I'll make 1.5 pounds of this.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Where do you ever shop at Costco?
Sometimes I do, but usually Publix is my go-to.
Yeah. I got it.
But buying in bulk is nice when you can buy certain things in bulk.
Yeah.
All
right. We don't have to mention brand names, but do you take any supplements this time of year, non-competition time?
Just my multivitamin, probiotic, maybe some extra vitamin C when the germs are going around. But other than that, just my protein shakes.
Okay. Multivitamin, probiotic, protein shakes, some vitamin C in the high illness months to keep the defenses up.
Especially with my little ones.
Immune system boosting.
Yes,
Immunoboosters.
That's right. Get that water in.
Do you drink any tea or coffee?
I'm a coffee girl.
All right, so give me the specifics. What does that look like?
Okay, I used to love some sweet tea. I gave that up a few years ago.
Was it because of the caffeine or the sugar making the
I don't,
tea
like
sweet?
some people love soda. I've never loved soda. I loved tea, and then I kind of just realized how much sugar was in it and how much better I felt after I stopped drinking
Hot
it
tea
all
or
the
cold
time.
tea you're talking?
Cold sweet tea.
Sweet tea. Southern sweet tea.
Sweet tea.
Right.
So I gave up the sugary sweet tea. Now I'm so used to drinking water that I just prefer the water. But I do love my coffee in the morning.
And how do you prep it? How do you take it?
I used to love some cream and sugar in it, but once I started getting serious with the competitions, cream and sugar is not in the menu. Right. So I got used to just drinking my coffee black, and now that's how I like it.
Okay.
So
you ever try like almond milk and stevia?
Sometimes I will if I want something that tastes a little fancier, but I don't even know if I like the flavor of the stevia so much. I'm just such a
There are different ones. Some of them can be very bitter.
Yeah.
And some a few of them are not.
Yeah.
Like, and I've been using it since I was maybe 15, 16.
Yeah.
And I've tried a lot of them. Some
Mhm.
were horrible. I finally found like 2 or 3 that are
What you
really
find,
good.
what you like,
Yeah.
you stick to
Yeah.
that.
All right. So you're basically straight up coffee now. You don't even put anything in it.
Plain Jane, yeah.
Okay. How do you brew it?
My Keurig.
All right.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. That works. A lot of people are into those.
Yes.
All right. So when you guys go on vacation, well, so recently you guys went away for Thanksgiving.
We did.
Do you do any kind of fitness for those several days that you're away?
So usually we don't take very long trips, and if we do, they're usually like a physical activity. In the summer, we go over to the Gulf and we go scalloping. So I'm snorkeling and swimming
Which area?
all day.
Which area?
Steinhatchee.
Okay,
Steinhatchee,
cool.
Florida. It's usually in the winter. If we
Yeah.
go snowboarding, we're walking up and down
Right.
the mountain all day, and that's a big activity. So it's
Right.
definitely a workout.
Right. You're not just
things-
sitting
yeah.
around like drinking pina
No,
coladas.
not
on the
really
beach. Yeah,
sitting and drinking so
you
much
guys are
by a
active
pool.
people.
Pretty
Active
active
vacations.
vacationers, and it's okay to relax for a day.
Yeah,
But even over Thanksgiving, we went to go be with family for a few days. We were out in the woods.
You're walking, you're
hunting.
hiking.
We're walking and
Right.
hiking and climbing up and down trees. So there
Yeah.
is some activity involved. But really, I packed a cooler with me because
Okay.
if I'm not going to be working out as much, I need to at least make sure that I'm somewhat sticking to my diet. So I had my cooler of fruit and meat
Right.
and things prepped and ready to go. I had a chicken and rice dinner ready for us when we got there that night.
Nice.
The essentials, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And I ate all the Thanksgiving turkey.
Okay. So when you guys do longer vacations, do you look for places that also have like fitness facilities in them or at them where you could, like, if you want to train?
Sometimes we will, like if we have a nice hotel and we stay somewhere and they have a fitness center, we'll take advantage of that for sure. But other times, like when we go to the coast or we're up in the mountains, there's no gyms
Right.
around. So we make the best of it and try to just stay active.
Right. Okay. Awesome. All right. So when you're not sure when you might compete again, if you had to look ahead now, when might that happen?
So
Have you ever competed in the Dexter?
I have not done the Dexter. Typically, I have competed early spring, done by early summer, because when my little one gets out from school, that's a challenge.
Yeah, it's a different schedule.
Yeah, I have to go off of, which kid care was a huge thing in the gym when she was little. It's such a good way for moms or anybody with kids to get into the gyms to use their kids care.
Yep.
The kids get to go play and you get an hour to go put on your headphones and go walk or do an activity or do your workout. And I loved that when she was younger. And it was probably one thing that kept me coming was the ability to have that child care. So it took that excuse away, really.
Yeah.
And so I'm usually done competing when she gets out from school during the summer.
Okay.
This year, I don't know when exactly I want to compete again. That's the thing about bodybuilding is you have to have some patience. You have to be able to step back and build and do what you got to do to get to that next step. So they usually release the schedules for the upcoming year in the spring. So I don't really even know what shows are available yet for me next year. I may build through all of 2024. We'll see.
Okay. Will you stay focused on the bikini category?
I will definitely stay bikini.
Okay.
But they're looking for certain things, and I know I got to build, so we're going to work towards that.
Okay.
So, but I'll be excited to get back on stage again.
Yeah, I could tell. You're so besides the competitive aspect, what health, fitness, longevity parameters drive you to stay consistent and committed and disciplined now that you're like really into it as a lifestyle?
Even if I never competed again, I think I would completely keep going on this path because I feel better than I ever have about my own health and my fitness and just how I wake up and actually feel every day.
All aspects of life.
Yeah, all the aspects of life. And it does feel good. You feel better about yourself. And it is true that working out releases that serotonin.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
happy hormone. It just makes you feel better. It's a
Yeah.
mental clarity. It's almost like a therapy sometimes
Yes, it
to just be
is.
able to kind of go in and put on your headphones and just kind of zone out for a
Right.
little bit. And like I said, I usually work out by myself, and my coach writes my plan, so I know exactly what I'm going in there to do, and I just step by step. And before you know it, you're just done.
Right.
So, yeah.
Self-care is important. Do you ever think about the example you're setting for your daughter?
I do. I think about that a lot.
Tell me about it.
So, my parents were never gym people or big into physical fitness.
Right.
So, I'm happy that I'm showing her that it is important to stay in motion. A body in motion tends to stay in motion. So, I want to show her that that is important to stay healthy, to move and work out. And I feel like there's like a confidence that comes with the ability to walk into a gym and not be
Yes.
afraid to go pick up the weights or to know how to use the machine.
Right.
And I don't think it's hard to achieve on your own. It really is. I don't know how I just kind of got in there one day and said, I don't care what anybody thinks anymore. I'm just going to go figure it out. And I would make little notes on my phone before I had a coach of, this is what I'm going to do, so I know what I'm doing when I get there.
Right.
And now I have a plan from my coach, so I don't have to do that anymore. But I want her to feel that confidence. And now she'll ask me about if foods are healthy, and she'll ask me if she can work out with me. She wants to come into the gym.
Nice.
I think at like 12 years old, they can start coming out into the gym with you.
Yeah.
So I'll be excited one day if she wants to still to come out there and do it with me. But I want her to obviously live the healthiest, happiest life that she can. And whether she ever wants to compete or anything, that's completely up to her.
Right.
There's a lot, I think, that comes with showing a little girl that part of the bodybuilding world. I've not brought her to any of my shows yet because I don't know if she's ready to see all of that.
Right.
She's seen my pictures and is like, wow, mommy, you look so pretty. You're so tan.
Right.
I will be excited for the first time that she does come to see me at a show.
Yeah.
But I think there's also like a lesson that when I started, was probably the most stage fright person ever. I didn't like public speaking. I couldn't imagine getting on a stage in a bathing suit and having people judge me. So it was a really big fear crusher to get up there and do that. And I think that's kind of an underlying lesson for her, to not be afraid of doing anything, that you can do it. So I want her to see that too.
This is huge. You're setting the prime example for her. You and Styles, by the way you eat, support each other, live the lifestyle. But what's also really big is I'm pretty sure I've seen her, like you take her out of the childcare sometimes. So she actually sees the inside of the gym.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And she sees all these different people, male, female, super young, super older, everywhere in between. A lot of kids don't get to see that. It's actually how I got my start in the gym world. Because my dad was doing this back in the 60s. So for me, it was very normal. I thought everybody did it. And little did I know, like back when he was doing it, only like 0.1%.
Yeah.
Right? So that example was the most powerful thing ever. It's a huge blessing for me. So the fact that she's witnessing how you guys are living, what you're doing, that's priceless right there.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're being mindful of the context that she's seeing all the aspects in, like the daily habits that you guys employ, the nutrition, the prioritizing your food shopping, how you're cooking, the exercising you're doing all year round, not just the more intense stuff leading up to a competition, and having her be able to put the competition stuff in proper perspective, like right. And so I can see you're mindful in teaching her that this is not why we do all this stuff year round. This is just one of the things you can do as part of this health and fitness focused lifestyle for all the bigger, deeper benefits. Right. Very powerful. I love it. Okay. So have you, from when you started back in high school, have you ever faced a time where there was any kind of like major setback or major challenge you had to overcome, or something that took you off track for a while?
Yeah,
So let's share that.
probably a few life moments because life just happens.
Right. So give me
And
one.
motivation will carry you, but dedication will keep you going.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, when I had Reese and had my first child, that was hard. It's a big life changer. Right. I had a hernia repair about 1.5 years ago, and that was a little bit of a setback. I couldn't do anything for about a month.
So leading up to the hernia repair, like, was it bad where you had to stop training, get diagnosed, and like, okay, we have to get surgery done?
Yes, it had its steps. I didn't know that it was a hernia. It was actually a pain I would only feel maybe once a month for a few days, and then it would go away. And we thought it was just a lymph node that was getting inflamed during that monthly cycle. And finally, I did have 1 month where it got so inflamed and painful that I thought, this is not normal, and I can't live with this every month anymore. I've got to go see a surgeon and see what we can do here. So went to the surgeon. He said they weren't really sure what it was until we got in there either. And so we did the surgery. It was a hernia, got that repaired, had to be patient and let it heal.
So hernia surgery, got it done. How long were you ordered to not do any training?
I want to say for at least 3 weeks, I couldn't even walk.
And this was 1.5 years ago.
Yeah.
That had to be hard.
Yeah, it was really hard to go from such a steady, been on track for a long time pace, and then to kind of have a medical curveball thrown at you. But
so what did you do to like prep yourself for that period, recovery? Like what did you focus on, being that you couldn't train?
I worked on everything that I could that wouldn't irritate or inflame that area before I had the surgery. And then I really just took the doctor's advice and my coach's advice and my self-conscious knowing as a nurse that I have to let it heal. So I couldn't even walk for a few weeks. Then they let me come in and I could do incline walking and some upper body. And then I want to say maybe 6 weeks or more, I could finally start doing some legs again. But I could do almost nothing when I came back. My strength, where they had to cut me, really took away a lot of that core and leg strength to be able to push and bear down. And so I felt like I started from zero. Some machines in the gym, I couldn't put a single pound on when I came back. And I've slowly had to come back, and now I'm stronger than where I was before.
Right.
But
no
I used
pain, hernia's good.
No pain, hernia's good.
Surgery worked.
Surgery worked. I let it heal. I took my time. I didn't rush back in, and I started slow to let that muscle heal and gain back its strength. And now I'm better than where I started. I am self-conscious with certain movements. I wear a belt when I squat, when I deadlift, and just kind of be mindful of the area.
Right.
But it doesn't hinder me anymore.
Awesome. So when you were going through the 6 weeks total recovery, were you like strong enough to like focus on the nutrition and stick with it?
I knew that was gonna be what kind of kept me on track. If I'm not gonna be able to be in the gym and really be active at all, then I really need to try to stay on track on my diet, which is hard when you're literally just sitting at home for 6 weeks. You get bored and you're just sitting. So I'm sure I had a few snacks here and there, but I did try to stay on track with my diet. And some days mentally were easier than others. You try to just tell yourself, it's going to get better. This is just a time in life. Like, it's not going to be like this forever. You just got to be patient and get through it. And then obviously there's days where you're like, this stinks and I'm ready to go back right now. But you got to be patient.
Understood and agreed. I've had mine too.
Styles helps me though too.
I'm sure he does. He's such a good guy. I totally got his vibe the first time I met him. Like, all right, so
he's my total support in this.
I can see it. So on the Styles note, how did you and Styles meet? Actually in high school?
So we met in high school. We went to the same elementary, middle, and high school. We went to San Pablo Elementary, Fletcher Middle, Fletcher High. we met in high school through mutual friends. And then he was a grade older than me. He graduated and we kind of lost touch for maybe a year and then reconnected through mutual friends.
Okay.
And then when we reconnected the second time, we knew that we had to date. And
Right.
so the rest was history. And now we've been together for 14 and a half years.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. Love
Yeah.
hearing those stories. I asked Dexter the same question last week. He was waiting for Celine to show up to train. Boy, he lit up.
Oh,
He told me the story of how
Yeah.
him and Gail met. And he got so like into
They're
it.
so
He started
sweet.
leaving with me. He forgot he's supposed to train
Oh.
with Celine. But he was like, he loved telling the story. And I love hearing it. That's why I ask people that. I
Yes,
love hearing the
their
stories.
story too. They're so
Good
sweet.
stuff. Yes. All right. So as promised, is there anything else you want to share before we get to who you're going to nominate, your question for me, and the social media share?
I would just say that no matter who you are, where you're at in life, young, old, healthy or unhealthy in your point, or whatever your goal is, if you want to get into better shape or feel healthier about yourself or improve your health, you really can. You can do it. And it just takes little baby steps, whether you just need to go for a walk a few times a week, or if you are interested in going at that competition level, you just got to start.
Yep.
Just gotta
So,
start.
amen. So that's how you started. High school, body issues, weight issues. You just started walking.
Mhm.
That's how you started.
Mhm.
That was your entry point.
Mhm.
And a woman who did not see herself getting on stage in a bikini competing,
Mm-mm.
you're doing it now.
Nope. Yep.
Not that has to be everybody's goal.
No, it doesn't.
But like we were talking before we turned on the cam, you've never done a podcast interview before.
First time.
Right? And not only were you one of the biggest supporters when I first hatched the idea, actually God sent me the idea.
Mhm.
Literally, it was sent by God. You were one of the early encouragers and you said, count me in, even though you had never done this before.
Mhm.
All right. So we say this to encourage anybody who's brand new, or let's say, like most people, you've been on again, off again, right? You
Mhm.
start and then you stop. Life gets in the way and it's so easy for you to get scattered. Not only can you restart, but you can stay committed. And just like you heard Ashley say, life isn't perfect. You're
Mhm.
going to have things that come up, surgeries that might be required, weekends away where you don't have all your stuff, you don't have all your equipment. So you make the best of those days. You don't fully like bury yourself. And the key is to look at the bigger picture of life and understand that it's not about perfection, it's about progress.
That's right.
Right? So on that note, you ready to get into who we're going to nominate?
Yes.
All right. So who are we going to nominate?
So I think I would like to nominate my good friend and fellow mom and trainer, Paula Brunt.
Yes. All right. Paul is another sweetheart. Great spirit, great soul. I could tell from the first few times she and I were talking as well. She's going to be a good one. And I'm pretty sure she said, yeah, count me in when we were talking that day upstairs.
Yeah, probably.
So we have to break the news to her today or tomorrow.
I'll let her know.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So Paula is she's probably in her also mid to late 30s, 40s.
40s.
All right. She's keeping it together pretty good. So busy mom. She's a trainer. Great soul, great spirit, dedicated, committed. She's going to be a great guest.
Yes, she
so
is.
Stay tuned for Paula. You want to do your question for me now, or you want to share? All right. So what is your question for me?
So I wanted to ask you how we got here today. I know you said you had done podcasts in the past, but what brought us here with Midlife Muscle?
All right. So great question. So anybody tuning in, if this is brand new to you, if a friend, family member shared it with you and you've never seen or heard of us before, my quote unquote older podcast, which is still fully active, I'll still do an episode on there every now and again. It's called the Fitness Truth Podcast. But over the last year or two, as I've evolved my business and personally evolved into like wanting to master my 50s and beyond, so that I'm basically, the goal is to extend midlife. Like I want to die at midlife, but I want my midlife to be like in my 90s,
right?
A different kind of midlife as compared to the regular population, right? If we stay strong, agile, mentally sharp, fit, midlife can keep going.
Right.
Right. It's not actually the chronological age.
Age is a number.
Right. It's so the idea was the podcast theme and focus and format has to change. It has to evolve. I couldn't figure it out on my own though. So I left it in God's hands. I was like, all right, God, this is your deal. I know you're going to guide the steps. So back in the summer, my friend Darren, who's been a member of the gym Jacks for quite some time, we would do our beach walks. We'd have our talking catch-ups. And one day he's like, I need your help. And he's been into fitness his whole life, this guy. He's like, I want to be a bigger version of you. Like, you look great. I want to look like you, but me, my version. I would love for you to help me. I said, all right, here's how I can help you. We trained together for maybe 2 months. Literally, you train with me. You'll learn everything you need to learn, and you're going to feel the things you need to feel so that you know you're on the right track, making the progress you want, and then feeling yourself that, okay, now I have solid structure. I have my way, and it's not like I'm still guessing or piecemealing this with that and seeing this different program and trying it, still not getting where you want to be. So we go, he's like, if you come to the gym Jacks with me, I'll just get you a 2-month membership. We train, we're good. I was like, all right, you got, and I was training at home before that. Like I think I mentioned before, I have a gym that I designed. That's an all-in-one system. It's at the house. That's where I was training. So when he asked me that, I didn't hear him. I heard God. I literally, it's like God's talking through him. Because I didn't want to go join a gym. I was good at home.
Yeah.
But I'm like, all right, you got it. Like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Right. So he came back from a long business trip in the summer. We had a date to start. We show up at the gym Jacks. He's at the counter talking to Drew, signing me up. And like, I'm just, I'm like kicking around, checking things out. And so he turns around and he's like, all right, we're good to go. I signed you up for a whole year. I was like, all right, that's God talking.
Okay.
Like, I heard God, you got a year membership here.
Here you go.
I was like, all right, there's something going on here in a good way. So Darren and I train 2 months. He's good to go after that. And I was very focused on helping him. So I could hardly see anybody. Like, I was really intent on giving him everything he needed to succeed. But by the time that 2 months went by, like, there were some days he was out of town. I was like, I'll just go there and train myself, right? Because the vibe was good. Right? I've been in gyms my whole life since childhood. I'm like, this is a neat place. There's a good vibe. There's a lot of good people. Everybody respects each other, even if they're not very talkative.
It is a different place.
Yeah. I was like, all right, this is good. And I'm listening to God's voice. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to get in there. So the 2 months goes by. And I'm like, I don't have to come here anymore, but I want to go. Literally, it's 5 minutes from my house, right? I live a block from here. So it takes 5 minutes to get there. So I said, I'm going to keep going. By that time, like, a couple people started saying hello to me. And I'm very social. I just don't want to, like, interrupt people's fitness groove. Like, I'm very respectful of that. But I love meeting new people and getting to know their stories and connecting with similarly vibed people. So I didn't know Bev and Vince were the previous owners, but apparently they were watching me, and I didn't know who they were. Like, I didn't know who anybody was. And Vince came up to me one day between sets. He's like, hey, we've been watching you. You really look like you know what you're doing. You're doing some different stuff. And I'm very flattered by that, very honored. So I thanked them and asked them their names. Then Argan and I were crossing paths. And he's like, hey, I've been watching you. Like, I see you do things differently in here. You got your own way, and it looks like it's working. I could tell you're not in your 20s, right? But you're holding it together pretty good. So he and I start talking. And I said, hey, if you want to train with me one day, just let me know. So he said, yeah, I would love to do abs and core with you, like midsection. So we did a midsection training session. He loved it. I still see him doing things that we did that day. He's like, those are awesome moves.
That's awesome.
And so by that time, like, a couple other people I was crossing paths with, I met Brett, started talking with her. Wasn't long before Dexter and I crossed paths. We start talking. Met Celine, she's a great kid. Met some of the trainers like Paula. Met James Stewart. So, all right. So how did this come to be? So Dexter and I were talking one day between sets, and he was talking about his supplement line. And I'm like, Dexter, you got to be doing a podcast. Like, you should have a podcast. You have the perfect life story. Like, and you got connections with people that would be awesome guests that a lot of people would want to hear from with you interviewing them. That's the dynamic. So he's like, yeah, I know, I got to do something like that. And I showed him some of my stuff. I showed him the Fitness Truth podcast. He saw my TikTok, which has over 100,000 followers. He's like, all right, you might know what you're doing here. So like, all right, we got to talk. So a couple of days go by, and he starts talking to James. And James, he and I start talking. He's like, yeah, Dexter was telling me you're trying to get him to do a podcast. It's like, you both should do a podcast. I said, you're a former Jags player here, still living in Jax. NFL player, successful. You're still training. You guys are friends. You guys should do a podcast together. So a day or two go by, and I'm in there doing my stuff. Dexter's doing his, and we're chatting back and forth. And I said, I got the name. I said, it's Midlife Muscle. So he looks at me, like the look he gave me was like, whoa, that's a good name, right? And I said, if you guys don't do it, I'm doing it. Said, so just chew on that for a bit. And him and James went back and forth for a while, and I was like, all right, they're not doing it. And they got their other stuff going on. They're busy. I get it. Maybe they're not ready to do something. But to me, it was like God, like putting the pieces in front of me to like have this vision come to fruition. And so, and I actually ran it by Dexter. I was like, you could interview people from the gym also as part of your format. And that, well, obviously here we are. Like, this is how, so they didn't do it. The brainstorm came through talking with him, James. And when I realized they're not going to do it, that's when I started talking to people like you and getting that positive reinforcement and the yes reactions. I knew it was like, all right, this is where this all has to go.
That's awesome.
Right. And so that's where it really all came from. Here we are.
I love it.
So thank you for being such an encourager, being the first guest, first interviewee who's never been on a podcast, let alone a video podcast. So I appreciate that big time. Forever grateful for you, like being that ingredient. And great question, by the way. Good answer?
Yes.
Cool answer?
Yeah, really cool. I mean, it's funny. Every day is a step in life. There's pieces. Sometimes we don't recognize them or see them right away, but sometimes all in the end, it all makes sense.
Yes, exactly. All right. So you have a specific social media channel you'd like to share with our viewers and listeners?
Sure. You can follow me at Ashley_Smith 534 on Instagram.
Now let's say that one more time slowly. So this is on Instagram, Ashley, ASHLEY _ SMITH
534.
All right. Ashley_Smith 534. That's her handle on Instagram. Do you share like competition stuff, like for to motivate yourself?
It's funny you asked me that because I try to take a picture every day, any kind of gym picture.
When you're getting ready for competition, or
no,
in
just
general?
Every day, every single day. I post it on my Instagram. May not be a picture of me, it may just be the background at the gym, but it's more of an accountability post every single day. Like, I'm here, I did it, check. I'll share pictures of my progress and talk about my competition prep as I'm in that season. Right now I'm kind of in that building off season, so I'm just continuing to build. But I do like to share during that season to bring people in and kind of see more of it, what it's really about, what goes into it every day.
Okay, cool. This is good. So there you go. I say that's a great social media account to follow if you're posting something every day or almost every day, even if it's for your own accountability to shoot a photo, share it. It's like it's your own check-in, right?
I've actually had multiple women and people reach out and say, "I love that you post this every day. You're why I work out. This keeps me accountable too."
Cool.
So I'm like, all right, that keeps me going with it. Because some days I'm, oh, what does it matter? Or who cares? Or whatever. But I'm like, no, it's my accountability.
There are people looking for it.
And even if I don't think, what does it matter? Somebody else might.
Right. Even if it's just one
I
person.
don't even know it. Yeah.
Right.
They see the accountability of it and it inspires them. So I'm like, okay.
Yes. Awesome. Love it. So, Ashley, this has been a way better interview than I thought it was going to. And I thought it was going to be good. This was really good.
Oh, good. I'm so glad I got to be here.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
Big time. All right. So that's the end of this one. You heard her nominate Paula for one of the future ones. If you're just tuning in, be sure to share this with somebody, whether it's the video version at midlifemusclepodcast.com. If you want to get the newsletter, the companion newsletter, that's also free, midlifemusclenews.com. I'm going to also share Ashley's handle Instagram link in the show notes at some point, so you'll be able to check that. And that's it.
All right.
See you on the next one. Peace and much love to you.